I'm joining us right now in an exclusive interview to talk about the season, so much more. Beast Industries President and CEO, Jeff Hausenfeld. Good morning to you.
Good to see you again.
So this is a big deal. We should say he's the most followed. He continues to be the most followed individual on social media. 468 million subscribers on YouTube now.
On YouTube, yep. And over 1 billion across our platforms.
By the way, how much more, before we even get into anything else, how much more can that grow?
There's 7 more billion people to get.
I like how you think.
How many more people are actually on the platforms, though?
About 2.8 billion more.
About 2.8 billion. I'm sure you've looked to figure out what percentage of the people who are on the platforms are touching him in one way or the other.
It's incredible. In the last 90 days alone, 1.45 billion unique people around the world have watched our content, 80% of those outside the United States. Jimmy is a global phenomenon.
So how much does this show on Amazon change that balance, and how do you think about that versus these other platforms?
First, we want to meet our audiences where they are. So regardless if they're on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok, Amazon Prime, Netflix, we want to create content across multiple platforms to meet the consumer where they are. And each one of those platforms have a strength in terms of format, in terms of content, in terms of demographic. And so, for example, Beast Games ages up and tilts more female than our YouTube audience. So it's good for us, and it gives our advertising partners more breadth and reach.
Right. Long term, and we've talked about this a little bit, I mean, Jimmy is the center of the whole universe. But do you want to try to create other characters, if you will, inside the Beast world? And I'm thinking actually about the winner of Beast Games. We were talking about the winner of the first season, and whether some of these kind of people, or maybe others, sort of turn into sort of beast-like characters almost in this universe.
Yeah, no, it's the right insight. If you think about Jimmy Donaldson, he's akin to Walt Disney, a brilliant storyteller using the medium of his time to create content that engages, inspires, and entertains. And MrBeast is akin to Mickey Mouse, a very important character, but they have Lucas and Star Wars and Marvel and Avengers and Pixar and Woody. And so what you'll see over time is we're moving away from an individual to building an entertainment platform that will allow for other content and other talent to emerge and rise as a star.
I want to ask you about something that's in the news because it's fascinating, and maybe you have a take on it, because I think a lot of executives are thinking about this now. This is the prediction market situation that you sort of fell into, which is there's reports that an editor that worked for Beast Industries was suspended from using the Kalshi platform because they effectively were betting on things that they knew were happening inside the Beast world.
Yeah.
This is like we're like living in a whole new universe now.
The whole prediction markets are a new phenomenon that are rising, and I think corporations, individuals, federal and state regulators are all grappling with. We saw this coming, and so a couple months ago I put in place policies for all of our contestants in Beast Games Season 2 and 3 for our employees to make them aware that we don't want anyone to trade on information, regardless of what the current ambiguities around the law is, this gambling or not. So we put that in place 3 months ago.
Before this happened?
Before this happened. We found out yesterday when it hit the press. We conducted with our chief compliance officer a quick investigation. We put the employee on suspension while we complete that investigation.
So but this is the big question, which is there's going to be employees, there's going to be contestants potentially in some of these things, but there's also, I imagine, if Jimmy's out in Africa or something, I don't know, and somebody knows that he's there, and someone could bet that he's there or not, or people who are not even attached to the business, who are somehow aware of, see something, understand it, and what you think the rules should be about this. And by the way, this is not a Beast Industries issue.
Yeah,
this is like an everybody issue.
Jeff, kudos on thinking ahead and getting to that point, because when we've had, people who have come on from the industry, our point has been it's not your job to police this stuff. I think you were pretty prescient in realizing that and getting ahead of the curve.
Thanks. And I watched your segment with the CEO of Kalshi a couple of days ago, and your insights I thought were exactly right. The prediction markets are going to have to self-police, but I don't think that's sufficient, right? We're going to need to decide, as 20 state AGs are wrestling with this today, is this a gambling state regulatory framework? And I was on Caesars board, so I know a lot about gambling. Looks like gambling, right? And then the wrestling with the feds who want to mandate it. The government's going to need to figure that out. The private sector is going to need to self-police themselves, and the prediction markets are going to need to put policies in place. But it is ripe for abuse, and our concern is to protect the little people, right, from that, just like the casino companies have to do today.
Do you think it's, I mean, just given now your experience in seeing all this, do you think it's much more widespread than we know? Meaning that there are people all over that are making money in ways that we don't, I mean, it doesn't get, we talk about Kalshi all the time, but we don't really talk about, like, who's actually making the money, and do you think there's employees of all sorts of companies that are just doing this on the side and nobody really knows what's happening?
100%. It's not just employees. You could be a third-party cameraman on set and know what the first song in the rehearsal is for a singer.
Right.
You can be the person reviewing a script and knowing what the end result is. So there's so much information out there, and it's asymmetric, and people are taking advantage of that.
Right. While we have you here, tell us about a couple other things. You're getting into the banking business, the fintech business, basically, in a big way. And I don't even know if our audience knows that about what you're up to.
We're so excited. A couple of weeks ago, we announced the acquisition of Step, which was a 6-year-old fintech business founded by Alexi and CJ. And their mission was to help educate people around financial services, around budgeting, around credit, around responsibility, particularly young people establishing credit and getting started. It fits so perfect with our mission, which is to up-level children around the world. And so we're coming together and using Jimmy's reach, our fandom of Gen Z and Gen Alpha. And what we want to do, as Jimmy said in his recent tweet, he said, I grew up without any of this knowledge. I wish I had it. I want to provide it to others. I grew up on welfare and food stamps and felt the same exact way. So what we're going to do is take what is traditionally dry information around financial literacy. We're going to make it entertaining. We're going to gamify it. And we're going to help drive the habits that lead to long-term success for the masses.
I love that. What are the economics of that?
Traditional fintech, right? Checking and savings accounts, not really profitable. It's the base business. Then you have secured and unsecured credit cards. You have personal loans, student loans, mortgages, insurance, and brokerage. And so each one of those businesses have a different profit margin. But the real key is to develop a lifetime relationship with the customer, so as they grow and their personal wealth grows, you're able to capture some of that margin.
You're involved in BitMine.
BitMine's involved with us through an investment into Beast Industries.
Into Beast Industries. So they're invested in you,
correct,
as opposed to you being invested in them. But I assume you care about the future of BitMine, therefore.
I do. BitMine is a leader in the Ethereum staking market. And if you think about stablecoin and the ability to provide a lower cost of capital and pass that on to the consumer, Ethereum is the backbone of stablecoin and the blockchain. And so we're big fans of Ethereum. We think the DeFi movement is really important, and the benefits that it brings consumers in greater access, democratization, lower cost of capital, the ability to move capital around the world in a safe and secure way.
Long term, how many different businesses do you think you can be in?
Well, when you have 1.45 billion users, there's a lot of share of wallet that you could gain. Today, we're in the media business. We're in the consumer products business with our chocolate and Feastables, our toy line, our relationship with Jack Links around healthy protein snacks, our Lunchly business. And now we're into financial services and moving into telecommunications as well.